Hello YouTube! I believe I am online. I can't tell because there's a little bit of a delay. Ah, there we go. Yeah. Cool. Thank you to the people out there who've tuned in already. You're impressively punctual, more so than I am. Well done. You're impressively punctual as well, a lot more so than Felix is, because I don't know where he is, but he's not here yet. So hopefully he will be with us soon. His phone seems to run out of battery. That's the problem with these musicians and scholars, is they're an unreliable bunch. But there we are, never mind. Anyway, so while I am here and you are here, and we're waiting for Felix, if anybody's got any questions about anything, we could do another bit of a kind of open session kind of thing. If anybody wants to know about anything particular, or just wants to chat about anything particular, any tunings you're interested in, or chords, or you want to know more about how to play by ear, or tell us about your favourite tune that you've just learned, or anything like that, I would love to hear hear who's out there and what you've all been up to. Who have we got? Hello Yvonne, thank you for tuning in. How's the new guitar? Do you know what? I'm really glad you asked me that, actually. I'll just grab a plectrum and the mode wheel, and we'll have a look. Yeah, this is a really good question. Let me just check what else you said as well before I start talking about it. New guitar is amazing. Ah, wicked. I'm glad. That's great. So, yeah, common chord changes, common key changes. There's certain key changes that work really well in sets, and there's certain key changes that don't work really well in sets. And there's also certain effects that you get by doing certain key changes, which you might want at certain points in a set, and you might not want at other points in a set. A very common one is to change from one key to a key which is one above it, so that you get that kind of lift in the energy. So very often you'll get, for example, D Ionian might go into E Dorian, because the root note's one above. Another common one is you might go from G major, G Ionian, into either A Dorian, which is actually the same notes, but it feels like it's gone up a bit, even though it's gone darker. So that can kind of add energy. Or actually, if you go from G major and you go up into A major, because there aren't many Irish or Celtic, or Celtic generally, tunes in E major, so to go from D up one is probably unlikely, because there just aren't many tunes in E major, apart from MacArthur Road. But to go from G major into A major is really nice, and you get that kind of thing where it suddenly plops up a semitone, and you get this great big extra lot of energy for the second tune. So yeah, going up one is a very common thing to do, either to, it doesn't really matter actually which mode you switch to, it just matters that you've gone up one for the root. So that's one thing that you hear people do a lot. Another thing that you hear people do a lot is to go to the key which is down a fifth. Start from a root note which is down a fifth. So if you've got a tune that's rocking along in D major, D Ionian, very commonly you will then go to G. And the reason for that is that ears love going down in fifths, and most of Western music is basically based on the idea of going down a fifth. pretty much all of functional harmony is kind of loosely based around the idea of going down in fifths. So if you have a tune that goes to the follow-up tune is down a fifth, that's always going to sound nice. With that one, if the first tune is major, then the tune that you go down a fifth to probably should be major as well. Whether you could do it to a minor key, I'm not too sure actually. Our errant whistle player is here, so hang on a minute, I'll let him in and then I'll think about it. Hey up!
Hey up, man.
Not doing badly, you're only 10 minutes late.
Sorry.
Shout at him, audience. Shout at your screens. No, don't worry about it. Yeah, go for it, yeah. So going down a fifth is always good. If you're in a minor key, go down to another minor key. If you're in a major key, probably go down to another major key. Actually, if you're in a major key, you could go down to a minor key. So if you went from D major to G minor, that would be okay. Like, it sounds like more of a jump actually. It's nicer going to the major key, isn't it? Go down a fifth to a tune of the same type, be it a major E type tune or a minor E type tune. Mixed Lydian tunes particularly lend themselves well to going to a tune that's down a fifth, because if you think about Mixed Lydian, it's the fifth mode, so it kind of wants to resolve down a fifth. Anyway, it often feels like it wants to resolve down a fifth. If you end a Mixed Lydian tune on D, end it on a D7 chord, which is chord 1 in D Mixed Lydian, then that'll want to resolve to G major anyway, so you can follow it up nicely with a tune in G major. Likewise, if you were in A major, you could end on A7, follow it up with a tune in D, and that would sound good. Are there any other ones? If you think about like the progression of a set, if it's a long set, you might want to lose energy at one point. You might want it to go quiet for a bit and then build up and then go again in the next tune. So the ways to do that, I suppose, the most common one is to go down a tone. So if you go from, let's say you're playing in high octane A minor. Down to G, that's kind of like you've sort of ramped the tension down a bit. You know, basically going up one, good, going down one, good, going down a fifth, always good, and if you're doing going down a fifth, then you probably want to go to a tune of the same type, be it major or minor. And also, if you're going up one, ideally you want to go to a related mode or something that sounds like a related mode. So if you're in G major, you'd probably go to A Dorian or A Aeolian would be okay, because it sounds so similar that no one's going to notice the difference. If you're in Mixolydian, going down one sounds really good, going down a fifth sounds really good. And that's about it. Those are the best sounding options, I think. Usually work it out if it's tunes that have been played at speed. I waste time sometimes finding the new key. Yeah, you can. That's a good point. You can think about, if you're expecting the tune to change, you can think about what the next keys are likely to be and try those ones out first. So they're most likely to be adjacent neighbours or down a fifth, probably. I suppose it's not that bad, because if you can hear it's a major or a minor starting point, you know that there's only like well, three or four likely folk options for either of those to choose from. You know, if it's a major key, it's likely to be G major, D major, or A major. And if it's a minor type key, it's likely to be E minor, A minor, D minor, or B minor. And those are really the most common options. Occasionally you might get C major or very rarely E major, I suppose. And you might get G minor, or in very rare cases F sharp minor as well, but they're really not common, those two. Anyway, should we play some tunes? Ladies and gentlemen, I present Felix Parker-Price.
Hello.
They're down there in the...
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
My apologies for my tiredness. It's very unfair.
Yeah, what should we play?
We have a couple of sets from the summer, don't we?
Yeah. I can't remember what they are, but...
Tell you what. I should be able to get them up.
Oh, the old flail. Yeah, nice. Cool.
Do those ring a bell?
Yeah, well, the old. I learnt the old flail on the accordion, so
Oh,
I can actually
wicked.
play that one now.
Any you prefer to play first, or?
Yeah, let's do that set, because
The old flail.
that one I actually know what
Yeah.
keys they're in. I
Okay.
don't know what. Actually, to be fair, I know what key one of them's in. We'll work it out though. I think.
Yeah.
Viewers at home, like, this is all very much impromptu because Felix has been in Brittany for ages, so I think we'll just freestyle it, isn't it?
If there's a next time, I promise to be a bit more organised.
Yeah, next time we'll rehearse.
Oh, yeah, bear witness on camera.
Maybe, probably won't.
So, old flail, get a Ford, Killer Village.
Yeah, how does the second one go? Oh
and then ending with.
Ah, nice. That's the old Folk Friend intro song, isn't it?
Seems fitting now.
Yeah.
So start with old flail, into get a Ford, and then Killer Village.
just talking about the key changes between chords there. Sorry, the key changes between chords? The key changes between tunes. We went from A minor down to E minor, which is really a chord change no-no, because A minor down to E minor is down a fourth, which sounds a lot less good than it would sound to go from A minor up, well, down a fifth or up a fourth to D minor. So yeah, that's me totally not practicing what I was talking about before at all there, but never mind. Hey Ed, thank you for tuning in. All the Folk Friend regular crew dem out there, thank you all for joining us.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are. Ed's in a town I can't pronounce, let me get it right, Tucson, in Texas.
Oh right, I was
think.
going to say, is that in French?
USA,
Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
yeah.
So we want to say, salut!
Yeah. And Yvonne's in Buxton, which is not that
Oh right,
far away,
okay,
but,
yeah. On the other side,
Yeah, exactly.
Derbyshire.
I don't know who else we got.
Nothing wrong with Buxton.
It's, there are a few French people actually. There's, yeah, who watch sometimes. Like.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Shout out all the French viewers out there.
Bonsoir.
Gardez le folk friend. I don't think they say that in French, do they?
Set the second is Ballyloughlin, Willie Coleman's into Monkstew.
Alright. I know Humours of Ballyloughlin. How's the other two go?
And then
okay.
That's the last one.
D mix, G major, E minor.
This is the challenge for now.
Yeah.
As a whistle player, I have no idea what key I'm playing in. I know this is a D whistle.
The problem I have is once I hear the tune, I'm alright, but actually remembering, you know, those three keys I've just said, I won't remember them in 2 minutes' time. What was it again? D mix, G major, E minor.
Something like that.
Cool. a chair here.
It's quite a comfy chair.
It's a very comfy chair, yeah.
It's all devouring.
It's actually too comfy. I think I might, I don't know, sit on the arm or something.
Right, yeah.
Got any fascinating tidbits of knowledge about the tunes there?
Not a huge amount. In the first set, the second tune is a Manx tune from the Isle of Man, whereas almost all the others, I think, are Irish.
Ah.
And I think the Manx tune is a more recent composition, in that recent 3 decades or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it could be traditional, as in more a lot older than that. I'm not an expert on Manx music, so.
Oh well, there you go.
Criticism.
That's our pan-Celtic quota. We've done one tune that's not Irish.
Yeah, exactly.
If you know one Welsh one or one Breton one, then we've
Exactly.
appeased everybody.
Yeah. Covered all bases.
Apart from the Galicians and all the other ones, but Arizona. Oh, sorry, Ed. Arizona Ed's in.
How could you know?
I know. We got Brian in Leg in Sutherland. Not in Wales, Brian. Must be on holiday. Tucson, yes, nailed it. Bosh. I knew I'd get it right in the end. I've been calling it Tucson for about a good few months now, isn't it? But never mind. Yeah, there's not a great deal I can say about the chords or anything. I was just they're all in drop D for that set. If you like drop D, by the way, there's a drop D video coming out tomorrow, because I realised recently I haven't actually done any, and it's one of the most useful tunings because it sounds a bit like Dadgad, but it doesn't need loads of new shapes. It only needs 2 new shapes and then all the ones that you're already familiar with. So it's a really good tuning, and a video about it will be out tomorrow at 12:30. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. I'll tell you what else, exciting developments, as well as the shop being open again this week, which has been really nice.
Looking very nice.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
I like what you're doing with the place.
Thank you. Yeah. Tell them how great all the bit that they can't see is as well. You know,
It is
really
very
missing
impressive.
that.
I'm actually well impressed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I got the display stand for free as well, and someone was actually throwing it away. So yeah, really good.
It looks like the real deal.
Yeah, it's just the right height for putting strings in. Yeah, it's perfect.
No,
And it matches the sofa.
It does. it's all come together.
Old school. But yeah, the other exciting development is I got a partial capo, so I'm going to make a new video about cool stuff you can do with them next week, because it's like you can get the sound of Dadgad but using standard tuning shapes, so that's quite cool. Might have a play with it in a bit actually. See how we get on.
Wicked. Sounds nice.
Oh, we've got a reply from Brian. Sofa so good. Thanks, Brian. Cheers.
It is very comfy.
It is. This was free as well, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, a nice woman on Freecycle gave it to me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, smashing it.
Want.
I mean, pretty much all my furniture is recycled.
Like a charity case here.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But there we are. No, it's good. What else have we got?
Do you fancy what is it? Elizabeth Kelly's Delight.
Yeah. How goes it?
I can't exactly remember the key it's in. I play it on a C whistle. If you have to do any tuners, it's Sound alright?
Yeah, sounds good.
Elizabeth Kelly's Delight or something like that.
Elizabeth Kelly's Delight.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Irish?
Irish, yeah. I'm pretty certain it's Irish.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, that tune doesn't have a sixth in it, I don't think, does it? Yeah, it's pretty much pentatonic actually all the way through, isn't it? There's no second or sixth note in it. Yeah. But yeah, because there's no sixth note in the tune. It's in tune's in G minor, so the scale of G minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the sixth. If it was Dorian, it would be that, or if it's Aeolian, it'd be that. But it doesn't matter because neither of those appear in it, I don't think. So that means you can mess about using tunes from the Dorian mode or the Aeolian mode, and you can use a bit of both. And that's what I was doing in the B part there, when I was doing something like playing D sharp major, and then switching it to E half diminished, or E diminished basically. Because if you're in G minor, if you're in G Dorian, then one of your chord options is a D sharp major chord.
Did you make that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Ah, I'm glad you asked. What is this fantastic device?
Time for a plug.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, G minor. If you're in G Aeolian, then a D sharp chord is one of your options, and if you're in G Dorian, then it's D minor or E diminished. So you can switch between the chord option from Dorian and the chord option from Aeolian, and it sounds quite cool, just a little. That kind of thing. And then all the other chords there are just like major 7 chords and minor 7 chords in replacement of the major chords and minor chords to make it sound a bit more fuzzy. So yeah, that's on. Yeah, this device. Yeah. I'm surprised you haven't seen these.
No. I think this must be a recent invention.
They've been out for a bit, but
it says prototype.
probably not. You've been away for ages, haven't you? So,
I haven't been gone for now 2 months.
Yeah. Oh, they've been out longer than that.
Oh, have they?
Yeah. But it's the amazing mode wheel, which, by the way, you can get one. Go and get one. They're very good.
Get yours now.
Get yours now. finaleguitar.co.uk/shop. But yeah, they turn around and they show you all the notes in any key, and then all the chords that go with those notes.
That's wicked.
Mm.
What inspired you to make such a thing?
Just the fact I used to make them out of paper for my guitar lesson people,
Right.
but it always used to take me about 15 minutes of folding things and cutting things and fiddling with split pins.
Right.
And the original ones were like a slide ruler, and
Right.
then you ended up with like a really long bit of paper with all the modes written on it.
No, it's a great guide to have.
Yeah.
I don't play guitar, but I think I'd want something like that.
This is like one of those little disclaimers where it's like, we hold no interest in this thing that we've just described to you, or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'll go and get one.
Yeah.
Brackets, may not.
Yeah. Felix is not a guitar player.
Yeah. But no, it is useful because if you when you try and explain to people that the Ionian mode has all the same notes in it as the Dorian mode, but they sound different, they always go, why are they different if they're all the same notes? And then you go, oh, and there's 6 other ones that have all the same notes as well, and people are like, well, what's the point of there being 6 versions of the same notes?
Right.
But then if you've got one of these, you can explain it to them properly and show them how it actually works. So it's
class.
And for guitarists, it's good because you can just find all the chords really easily. If you can't remember them, it's quite a lot to remember. So yeah,
it's a good idea.
Thank you. Yeah. Ah, you moved.
Oh.
Cool. Not you.
Oh.
No, you've not moved. That's fine. You carry on. Brian's moved. If anyone's got any tune requests, we can spring them on Felix when he gets back. Lovely.
Lovely stuff. I'll just look at. We should probably go into real territory as we've been.
Oh yeah.
We've avoided.
In jigs, jigland.
Been heavy on the jigs. So we have Killarville or Killerville Reel, Coolies, and then Jimmy's Return.
Cool.
For the third.
A minor, E minor, and something else. Is it?
Yeah.
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 And look at that. That's 2 out of 3 in one go. That's got to be a first, hasn't it?
I believe you.
Yeah.
Thousands wouldn't. I have the whistler's curse. So is it Killarville, Coolies into Jimmy's. So drum.
So how does the last one go?
So that's.
Cool.
First is. Coolies is this Coolies.
Coolies, yeah.
Coolies.
Cool. E.
Keep it cool. Right.
Stay cool.
How's that?
Very good, yeah. Disapprove of tuners on principle. I think they're like weird black magic. I prefer to be out of tune in the true tradition.
Yeah. Close to the roots.
Can you do the gravel walks set? Ah, do you know the gravel walks? I love that tune.
I do know it, but I'm better to
Know of
play
it.
I'm best to play with it when I have other tune players.
Ah, okay, yeah.
How's it gone? Not like that. I'd have to hear it actually. Might be able to revise that later or something.
Yeah, we'll get back to you on that one, Yvonne. Sorry, 9 Felix's
Apologise.
jukebox is
Apologies.
not working properly today, but we'll
Needs
come back
10p.
to you on that one. Yeah. Yeah, we'll try and if we do this again, we'll have to try and do it. Yeah.
Gravel Walk is a very good set, very good tune.
Yeah.
One I have been learning. I've known it for a while, but it's one it hasn't been able to click to the point where I start it by myself. But when I hear other people play it, it runs a lot better.
Yeah.
As you get for a while, and then suddenly it goes clicks.
Yeah.
But
it's got has it got lots of parts, that tune?
yeah, it's got. I think it's got like 3 or 4 parts to it.
Yeah.
No, what do you mean?
I can't think off the top of my head how it actually goes, but I remember it having too many parts for me to remember them all in the right order. Ah, that one. Yeah, it's a banger.
It's a great one.
We could just diddly-dar it for
Yeah,
you if
we'll
you
lilt
like.
it. Now he's lilting workshop. See, I get the first bit mixed up with another tune called Almond Sound, which goes.
Should we do that one instead?
tune.
heard that before.
B part is a little bit tricky for me at the moment, but
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, as you can probably tell, I've fluffed it. But here's a cracking tune. That's called Almond Sound. Not quite the gravel work, but
What's it called?
Almond Sound.
Almond.
Yeah.
Like the hospital.
I think it's a Scottish tune. It's referring to a sound as in. I think it's a passage of. It's either like the passage of water between an island just off a big body of land.
Oh, right.
And I think that is what Almond Sound is.
Oh, cool.
I don't actually know what constitutes a sound, but I've been to the Isle of Man, I've seen the sound, which is also referred to as the Carford Man, and that's similar as well.
Ah, okay, yeah. It'd be great if there was a guy called Almond who just made a funny sound.
Yeah, I like. Yeah,
like a Yawnsy kind of.
Yeah, I like that.
something,
Almond Sound.
Yeah. I don't know. Something along those lines. Actually, there's a useful chord shape in there, which is if you play a C without that finger, you've got kind of C, which is quite nice. You slide it up and you get kind of D. Slide it up and you get kind of E, useful for E minor. And you slide it up, you get kind of G. So you can kind of use that for a lot of slightly vague sounding chord progressions. If you wanna kind of play a bar chord for a bit that's really very definitely a kind of blocky sort of chord, it's like painting with poster paints, like those kinds of things. And then you go into a fuzzy chord set for a bit of contrast, like. It's quite a nice little way to vary the feeling of your chords up. And if you can kind of offset one block of definite chords against one block of non-definite chords, it sounds like they're having a bit of a conversation, so that's quite fun. So yeah, that's that shape. It's a C major with the middle finger missing. Yeah, I don't use it very much, but it's quite useful to know. Hi Steve, thanks for tuning in. Welcome aboard. Brian, is this product placement? Brian, I don't know what you're talking about, mate. I've never done any product placement ever in any of these, as far as I'm aware. Thank you, Matt, for advertising my books, which you'll know I didn't mention.
But now
although actually, now you mention it, I have actually written a book. It's on my amazing rack of loads of streams of books over here. It's called Backing Guitar Techniques for Traditional Celtic Music, and if you would like to buy it, you can do so at my website, finaleguitar.co.uk/shop. And I'm sorry that the page takes ages to load, but if you do bear with it, it will do eventually. Okay. So we got. Yeah.
Don't we have a slide set?
Oh God, did we?
Slippy, slidey sort of set.
Okay, cool.
There's, it's either called Oakum a Free Soon or the Old Furs Bush into Padraig O'Keefe's and then the Kings of Kerry.
Cool.
The Old Furs Bush is.
Oh yeah.
And then. All sort of slidey goodness. Wholesome slides.
Very nice.
one of my favourite tunes.
The
Kings of Kerry.
Ah.
Kerry in Ireland is renowned for its slides and polkas.
Ah.
I don't know if they're all Kerry tunes, but the second one is also a Kerry tune. And the first one has a couple of names and slight variations, but it's Irish. It's also, I learnt it off a band called Gitcha, and it's also a traditional song in Irish called O Come a Fleesome, and they made us. I don't know if it's like similar to another slide that's very similar, the Old Furze Bush, but the song is about a man who gets caught making moonshine or just alcohol illegally, and then he's sent to prison and he's forced to unpick rope, I think, and apparently it's miserable work, and so
I'm not surprised.
It starts off quite light-hearted and it becomes very depressing at the end, but it's a fantastic song.
Oh, that's good. What's the purpose of unpicking rope? Is it just to be a
Punishment.
pointless task?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opening lines are something to do with him saying, I praise the juice of the barley.
Don't we all?
And then he says, but it's a pity that King George doesn't like that, so now I'm picking rope. It was written quite well when there was a King George, so it was, or before Ireland broke away from the UK as well, so it's quite an old song.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Would you tell us about your thing about the monks? Because I thought that was really interesting. You know, you were saying, we were talking about, I was saying, why is it that Welsh music sounds so much more modern than Irish music?
Right.
And then I started looking at it, and I thought, well, it must be because Welsh culture was suppressed and kind of reconstructed, and presumably Irish culture somehow managed to survive more intact. And it makes sense to me that Scotland, with its like mountainous areas, and you know, it's very hard to subjugate Scotland, so they've never really managed to do it, and that's why Scottish folk music survives so purely, I suppose.
It's an interesting one because you could put it down to a Protestant Catholic thing, but a lot of the Gaelic speaking areas of Scotland are very Presbyterian, very like high end Protestant.
Right.
That's the word. And with which certain traditions and customs were discouraged by the Presbyterian Church and or Calvinist, which you got in Wales as well to a certain extent with Methodists who believed, and in England as well. I mean, this happened in Sweden and Norway as well. Like quite strongly Protestant countries had their respected churches sort of went on a crusade of what they thought were pagan, non-Christian behaviours, or just unbecoming of people. So they sort of tried to purge that. So that's why, and in Sweden, I think or Norway, they used to burn fiddles, and they referred to the instrument of the devil and all that sort of thing. But it is interesting that Gaelic-speaking Scotland has a remarkable oral tradition and in the song tradition. A lot of it, quite a bit of it is, it's not from the top down. It's from the working songs. I'm not a Gaelic speaker. I can sort of understand Gaelic, but I'm not an expert on Gaelic culture.
This is a load of rubbish. He
Exactly.
speaks like every historical variant of Breton and Welsh and. If you've missed one of the Scottish dialects, then I'm surprised.
I've never studied Gaelic. I can understand it all right because I can speak Irish and Manx to a certain degree. But
there you go.
But as you do.
Yeah.
But they have a very strong oral tradition. And in Ireland, I think with Catholic cultures like in Brittany and Ireland, there's been a level of syncretism with the native pre-Christian religion or just customs and the Catholic Church, where they were sort of assimilated, whereas the Protestant religion was all about getting rid of that, which is what the huge schism in the Western Christianity was all about.
Yeah.
And which I've heard in some respects is part to do with why these traditions have survived as well as they have. But that said,
Don't mind us, there's just an earthquake going on
Yeah,
outside.
exactly. Someone's putting the bins out.
Someone put the bins out, yeah.
We hope.
Yeah. We're about to be burgled.
Yeah, well, I hope, well, they'll have an audience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you guys are like our little CCTV camera out there in the ether. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, just have to be careful about making it just a religious thing, because obviously with Gaelic speaking Scotland being quite largely Protestant, but the singing tradition which goes into the piping tradition is very strong, and like the tradition of what you call push the bird, I think that's how you pronounce it, the mouth music.
Oh, right.
That's a lot. That's influenced pipe music as well.
Right. Okay. How does that?
I cannot sing push the bird.
Right.
Nor will I attempt or offend people by trying to do so. But it's a lot of those what you'd say very Scottish Gaelic tunes and piping tunes. They has that signature, you know, when you can tell it's a Scottish tune.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these. They might have
all those little Scotch snap rhythms and.
A lot of them have Gaelic names as well because they were originally written in Gaelic.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And now they're like popular piping tunes or something like that. Anyone watching, correct me if I'm wrong. That's not a challenge. That is an open invitation because but with Ireland, you do have, I suppose, and also like the Irish revival, the Gaelic revival as well in Ireland was a big thing in promoting certain traditions which could have very easily been lost. And if it weren't for two major revivals really at the start of the 20th century, well, end of the 19th century, early 20th century, huge effort to collect tunes and to preserve traditions.
I suppose what interests me is, did that happen in Wales? Because Welsh music sounds more modern, it's got more modern characteristics, and it definitely, I'm sure it's more recent in its provenance,
right?
From the little musical phrases that you get in it that sound like they're based in harmony.
Right.
Irish music doesn't sound like that. It doesn't sound like it's post-functional harmony.
Right.
It sounds like it's just old modal music.
Right.
To me, anyway.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Well, I'm not an expert on Welsh traditional music, but I think like the advent of Protestantism has had a very strong effect. So certain ideas of how music should be structured have probably been imposed on Welsh folk music. Not necessarily. I imagine there are some survival, like strong traditions. I mean, like in Wales, often people think of the singing tradition, which is very strong, and that goes in that. There's like you have religious singing, but you also have ballad singing. The ballad singing comes sort of from the 18th century, and that was partly spread by the rise of ballad sheets, which were cheap to give and buy, and that was a craze that was in England, which went over to Wales as well. Like, but I mean Scotland and Ireland, you know, like just the idea of ballad songs, and that was
cool.
Yeah, the first Welsh press was actually a lot of it was in either London or Shrewsbury, and a lot of those ballads, which would sometimes come over from the drovers, like the sheep. The sheep trade, and they'd either English or Welsh, and they'd bring it over, and there'd be sort of this.
Back to you. Do you want to buy a ballad?
Yeah.
I got a ram or I got a ballad. What do you want?
Sounds like a good trade.
Travelling. Maybe I should diversify into sheep as well as music.
Yeah, well, you could try and do the old drove-in trade.
Yeah.
Drovering. A wild drover.
Yeah. I know the thing you said to me once was that there were monks in Ireland who actually were encouraged to collect tunes and.
Well, not necessarily tunes. This is actually referring to the old Irish mythological cycles.
Okay.
So there's no way you can connect that with Irish traditional music because there's no record of Irish music from that period.
Right.
So this refers to the legends of Finn MacCool or Cuchulainn. And like the Ulster cycle and all this sort of thing, Fenian cycle.
There's a guy guy called Andreas, I don't know how you pronounce it, sorry, Andy for short. Andy Hurt, who I've been reading recently his research, and he's based it on the tunes of the Fenian cycle from the 1500s and 1600s.
Right.
And I was looking at that, I was like, this is really interesting, but I don't know how, I don't know where his record of the tunes come from. I need to check that actually.
I mean,
I'm sure he obviously would have cited where he got them from.
That'd be really interesting to find out, but like, as in, there were natural evolutions of these traditions that went into, that evolved King's songs and all, so it's not impossible that some people would have had songs centuries later.
Oh, okay. Because, I mean, this is the thing with it, isn't it? His argument is that he reckons that those songs were likely to have been based on the overtone series because the accompaniment instruments for them were probably these shepherd's trumpets that play overtones. And he reckons that is probably why in minor keys in folk tunes you don't get the sixths in there, because they don't appear till higher up the overtone series. You get them in the upper octave but not the lower octave.
Oh, right.
And in a major key that would be the second, wouldn't it? Would it? The fourth, maybe. Oh no, it's Dorian, so the sixth in Dorian is the seventh. If it's Aeolian, it's the fourth. Maybe it's the fourth. I think it doesn't matter. It's not important. Anyway, there's one note that doesn't. It doesn't crop up in Irish tunes. It's the sixth in a minor key, or it's the fourth in a major key, I think.
Right.
Barely ever crops up in the lower octave, but does in the upper octave, and he reckons that and various other things that he lists are because of its basis in the overtone series. Right. And then later on, when these tunes got collected, the only way that people had to write them down and to interpret them was their modern major scale based.
Of course. I mean, you get that like in the English revival as well.
Yeah.
Cecil Sharp and all that, when they went around collecting English traditional music and they heard people who were musically illiterate and they sort of imposed the structure on the tunes they were playing. I've heard one of my lecturers when I was at Aberystwyth University told me that one of the oldest probably one of the oldest like tunes, like kind of tune, is the single jig. But there are definitely, like jig, I think it's originally from Italy.
The name?
Yeah, and so like polka came from Eastern Europe, so these are sort of things that became popular across Europe and spread, and then end up over centuries remaining in certain countries and cultures.
Do you know what? I reckon part of the popularity of these tunes in different regions of the world has to do with the climate. Because if you say Eastern Europe is where the polka comes from, the polka that goes hop to, hop to, hop to, hop to, sounds like you're walking in your big coat trying to keep warm, doesn't it? Whereas the single jig, where it's like you're walking at half the pace, you take 2 steps per bar. It's very leisurely. The kind of relaxed Mediterranean vibe, and the kind of middle ground. I reckon that's probably Northern Europe, innit?
I can't remember what the
this is not history. Don't quote us on this.
Do not quote him. But yeah,
see this popping up in textbooks in 50 years, like
but it's like dancing as well. Like some of the origins of Irish step dance came from dances that were popular across Europe that spread. And just like Morris dancing is supposed to have come from
North Africa.
Yeah, Moorish people. I don't know what the crossover point is, but apparently essentially people who apparently either had contact with English people or moved to England.
I read something about it was something to do with the mining. They were.
Well, that's what you sometimes get when people do the very uneasy tradition of blackface, which is. I mean, some people are now doing stuff with blue.
Yeah.
Instead, because it's just. Well, I mean, it's better. It doesn't necessarily come from a racist side, but given what it can mean, then that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
So some people used to do it to represent, because miners would dance it, so they did that to represent the coal dust on their face. Some people also used to do it because when they'd be sitting dancing, like a lot of was it Molly dancing? No, it's not. money dancing. They go into town and they end up smashing up the gaff.
Yeah,
With
if they
traditional
if they
dance.
wouldn't employ them.
Yeah.
If the landowner wouldn't
So they
employ
would cover
them.
their faces.
Yeah.
And that was a way of not being recognised.
Yeah.
There are multiple theories.
Yeah.
I don't think it's maybe it's not true for any single region, or there are different reasons why.
Yeah. It's just there's so many different little interlocking stories that have,
yeah.
Because that's from a completely different musical culture as well, isn't it?
Mm.
English folk music sounds completely different to the Celtic music. It's like it's got its own.
Yeah.
And to me, I argue it sounds more modern. I think it sounds like it's outlining specific chords in specific bars, and you couldn't have done that until equal temperament had been invented in the 1600s. So I don't think English music in its current form, but maybe that's because of all the people that collected it and kind of codified it. Maybe they.
It's hard to say because really, in reality, Celtic music doesn't exist. It's probably better to say music from Celtic countries. There are definitely, to certain extent, there are relations between Gaelic Ireland and Gaelic Scotland, and they were mutually intelligible until like the 18th century, and you had bards and all that circuit going around circuits. So there's an exchange of culture.
Was Welsh not involved with that then?
No, they wouldn't be able to understand them. To be honest, really, Gaels and Welsh people have had a very uneasy relationship all through the centuries. And,
okay, so that's probably why the music's so different.
Yeah, there was no idea of concepts of Celticity until really the 18th century, when the Celtic languages were classified and put under the Celtic family.
And at what point did they diverge from Celticity, if you like, because they must have been.
Well, the thing is, the Gaelic languages and Brythonic languages are not noticeably similar, and haven't been for a very long time. So the thing is that an Irish speaker and a Welsh speaker would not be able to really find any common ground.
Right.
It wasn't until the linguist Edward Lloyd sat down, learned all these languages, put them down, and then he went, oh, hang on, there's a link here. And then he published that in Archaeologica Britannica, I think. And that's when you sort of get the idea of Celtic coming as based on a linguistic family. But really, I mean, even till, as people say, in Wales, like, some people still use it, they don't, it's not very PC to use it, but there's still an insult in the Welsh language calling someone Gwyddil, or yr hen Gwyddil, or yr hen Wyddeles, I think, actually, yr hen Wyddeles, referring to the old Irish woman, but that's not as a nice, sort of like, nice Irish granny, it's a very sinister, sort of evil, conniving person.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Huh.
One of the famous quotes people say is that they've heard someone refer to Margaret Thatcher as her hen with LS, which means the old Irish woman. Not that, I don't think she was ever keen on the Irish, but
no.
yeah. There's also another thing, I won't go into linguistics too much, but the better term referring to Irish people today in Welsh is Gwyddil, as opposed to Gwyddelad, because Gwyddelad has the same ending, the odd ending, which is reserved for animals.
Wow.
Yeah, so that sort of sums it up.
Oh dear. Oh well, there you go, you heard it here first. Sorry about this lengthy little side road we've been down here, but
The essay.
Felix, you've got a question from diddly-dee, from Ed. Ed says, where's he gone now? Yeah, you've got a question from Ed. He says, have you read How the Irish Saved Western Civilization? He says it's a very interesting read on the early church and the monks and scribes after the fall of the Roman Empire.
I haven't, but it's a very... I'll come back for that.
Yeah, okay, cool. We'll get back to you on that one.
I'm in the little office. I've heard of that book. I have never read it, but I think I can understand maybe what its angle is in terms of like insular Christianity, like Christianity found in Ireland, promoted literacy, and they preserve not only from their own culture, but there's suggestions that they may have influenced things like Beowulf as well, which is which is one of the oldest texts in English, or like sort of mythological pieces in English from the pre-Christian tradition. So
I thought that was from Scandinavia.
well, it's sort of it might be a pan sort of Germanic tradition, but it's written in Old English. But it's about I think it's set in Denmark. But I think I don't know if it's about an Englishman who goes to Denmark or something like that. But it was part of it was probably written in Lindisfarne off the coast of Northumbria, and that was founded by Irish monks as well, just like Iona in Scotland.
Yeah,
was founded by Colin Killer, which is the sort of the Pan-Gaelic saint. And
cool. Very good. We'll put it on the reading list. Yeah, it sounds good. That. Cheers, Ed.
Yeah.
Right, I'm absolutely starving.
Right,
so shall we do one more tune and call
Go
it a
on
day?
in, yeah. I'll see if we have any other sets written down.
Oh, Ed says, it's not that music related, but insightful. They saved some ancient writings that may have disappeared without their work.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
They were responsible for writing down the Ulster cycle and the Fenian cycle.
Okay.
Whereas in England, eventually later on, English monks were discouraged from writing down things from the pre-Christian oral tradition. So it was just cast aside. Whereas in Ireland, it was more syncretic, if you want.
What does that word mean?
It's a synthesis of the pre-Christian religion
syncretic, I see.
And the probably we don't have any more sets. We can work one out.
Yeah,
and the Christian one, yeah. Which is why, like early Irish law, there were things that included pre-Christian, pagan, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Came for guitar, got your asses bored off by early Irish law.
Do you know Cliffs of Moher?
It sounds familiar.
You pronounce it.
Sounds familiar.
There it goes.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Right, thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Ooh.
Last thoughts. Yvonne says, Canavo Felix.
Canavo. Canahinta.
Cheers, Yvonne. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much to Ed. Thank you very much to the Newer Truth for tuning in. And Pedro Lopez as well. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you again next Friday. Thanks to Matt. Thank you to... Who else did we have today? Brian. And all the gang. So yeah, thank you all very much for tuning in. And see you on next Friday for more Folky Fridays. And tomorrow afternoon for a video about Drop D.
You.